Welcome to today's webinar on mind mapping, mapping your path to mental wellness with John Diggs. And John is a certified life coach, motivational speaker, and Mapineering mentor who empowers individuals to achieve greater clarity, purpose, and fulfillment through the transformative power of mind mapping. As the creator of the I Am system and the Big Play Power, John helps people navigate life's challenges by turning complex problems into actionable goals. With a passion for mental wellness, John's unique approach integrates mind mapping with personal development, offering individuals the tools they need to manage stress, anxiety, and emotional well being. His mission is to inspire others to love life more by unlocking their full potential. Welcome, John, and thank you for being part of the Mental Health Association's webinar today.
Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Yeah, and greetings, everyone. I'm truly honored to be here today. Yes, like you said, I'm John Diggs, your Mapineering mentor. And, this topic we're digging into, mental wellness, it really hits home for me. You know, not because I studied it in a textbook or nothing, but it's because I had to walk through some storms myself. There were times in my life that I felt heavy, scattered, overwhelmed, and what pulled me out, it wasn't a book, it wasn't a quote or some motivational hype video. It was actually a tool that actually helped me organize my thoughts, process my mind, and started to create a path forward. And that tool was called a mind map. So let me tell you what a mind map is. A mind map is a visual thinking tool that actually starts with one central idea and it branches out and it helps you capture ideas, make connections, and organize information in creative whole brain way. Yeah. Mind maps are amazing for brainstorming, note taking, project planning. It's because they help you see the big picture and the details all at once. But one of the things I discovered is that a mind map can do way more. Because when you start to use a mind map to unpack your emotions, process your emotions, and visualize who you want to become, you actually unlock something different. And that's what I call mapineering. Yeah. Mapineering is about turning your inner world into something you could see and shape. Yes, using a mind map not as a tool just for information, but a tool for transformation. Yeah, it really helped me take chaos and turn it into clarity. It helped me take stress into strategy. And most importantly, it helped me love my life more. And so I really would like for you to listen closely because what I'm about to share with you, that does have the power to change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you live. Really does. This isn't just about managing mental health. It's really about mapping a life that you truly love. And today we're going to explore six powerful questions that's going to walk you step by step through this transformation. Now, first, we're going to talk about understanding and managing mental health, reducing stress and anxiety, combating loneliness and improving connections. Talk about overcoming negative thinking patterns, mastering emotional self regulation, and activating self actualization with the I Am Mind Map. And by the time we're done, you're going to have some real tools and a real plan and a renewed sense of direction of your mental and emotional health. That is the goal. So if you're ready to move from surviving to thriving, from confusion to clarity, let's not waste another second. Let's dig into this. Yeah, pun intended. You dig? Now, now let's begin with section one. Understanding and managing mental health. This is the foundation. Now, let me say that again. This is the foundation. Because how can we take care of anything else in our lives? Yeah, our goals, our relationships, our dreams. Yeah, if we don't first know how to take care of our inner world. And here's the truth, most of us were never really taught how to manage emotions. When you think about it when we were kids, I mean, we got more training on how to sit still in class than we ever did on how to sit still with our emotions. Yeah, with our own feelings. I remember being told things like, stop crying, be tough, boy, or that classic, go to your room and calm down. But no one actually ever told me how to calm down. There was no emotional regulation 101, just crazy vibes and confusion, right? So what do we learn to do? We bottle things up. We pushed emotions down. We fake smiles and told people I'm good, you know, even though we weren't. But here's the thing, bottled up emotions, they don't go away. They actually leak out sideways. Yeah, usually at the worst times and in ways that we regret. Yeah, and that's where a mind map can change the game. Yeah, let me tell you this quick story. It was a day I felt anxious, very anxious. I was frustrated, overwhelmed. It was all at once. I couldn't focus. Yeah, snapping at people I loved, mind racing, energy was drained. You know, but instead of just pushing through it or pretending that I was just all good and everything was fine, I actually sat down and I drew a mind map. I put mental health in the center and I started just writing down how I felt: anxious, exhausted, lonely, hopeful. Yeah, then I started to branch out to why. Then suddenly, I wasn't just feeling it, I was actually seeing it. And when I could see it, I can start to understand it. Then when I understood it, then I was better able to manage it. And that's the power of a mind map. It turns your invisible emotions into something visible. Yeah, something that you can study, make sense of, and actually start to work with. Yeah, let me show you an example of what I'm talking about here. Yeah, see, this could be a blank piece of paper. You can use a napkin or some mind mapping software like this, or you could just put mental health in the center like this. Then you can add some subtopics like anxious, exhausted, lonely, hopeful. Yeah, and for each of these subtopics, you can ask yourself questions like this. What's behind this feeling? When do I feel it most? What helps soothe it? And here's some example keywords. Pressure, overthinking. See, but then you can even take your map a sub, you could take it a step further and add a topic called support. What actually supports my mental health? You can add in keywords like sleep, movement, meaningful conversations, creativity, quiet time. Yeah, this is what a mind map looks like. And what you have here, it isn't just a page of like keywords or anything. This is actually your emotional wellness roadmap. Yeah, this map actually becomes a mirror of your inner world. It helps you recognize emotional patterns. You can track what's draining or lifting you. And you can actually start to build a strategy to start supporting your mind with intention. Yeah. Instead of reacting randomly to stress or sadness, you're going to know what to look for, what tools to use, and how to move forward with clarity. Yeah. See, this is not just a practice. This is really a lifestyle shift. Yes, a green light to stop holding it all in and start mapping a light that feels good, a life that feels good, grounded and intentional. Yeah, can you dig it? I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure you will. Let's move on to the next section. Section two, reducing stress and anxiety. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to think clearly in a messy room? I mean, like a really messy room, like piles of laundry all over, just random cups of like mystery liquids and receipts from 2007 just around. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, you walk in like, yeah, I'm ready to get things done. The next thing you know, just you sit down and your brain short circuits. You can't focus, can't even breathe. And suddenly, scrolling on your phone feel more productive than facing that chaos. Yeah, that's what stress feels like. Because stress equals mental clutter. Yeah, it's not always about what's happening around you. It's really the clutter inside you. Yeah, thoughts scattered, emotions tangled, deadlines, expectations, guilt, fear. Yeah, it's all tossed around like some dirty socks, right? Hanging all over the floor. Now picture this though. A professional housekeeper walks in. Yeah, they don't freak out. They don't rush. They just create a system. Yeah, room by room, step by step. And before you know it, the mess has order. House feels peaceful. That's what a mind map does. Yeah, a mind map can clean up your mental space. It's your emotional housekeeper. Yeah, it helps you organize the clutter in your mind and actually will give you a plan. Now, let me give you. Another quick story. There was a moment when everything hit me all at once. Yeah, it was bills, responsibilities, personal pressures. Yeah, and I really felt like I couldn't breathe. I was just tight. But I opened up my journal and I actually started the mind map. I put stress plus anxiety in the center. And I just let things come out of my mind. I didn't judge it, I just mapped it. And after about 15 minutes, I didn't have all the answers, but I had a plan. And that plan gave me peace. Yeah, and let me show you how easily you can do this. Again, you can use a piece of paper or a crayon or some mind mapping software for this, but you want to start with stress and anxiety in the center of the map. Then you can branch out to your top stressors, things that drive you nuts, like work deadlines, finances, health concerns, relationships. Yeah, and for each one, you can add these following subtopic questions. What's really within my control? What's not in my control? What's one small thing I can do to relieve the pressure? Yeah, and here's how you can start. Here's how it might look for you. You're just adding keywords to it. It's the beauty of the mind map. Then once you have this done, I recommend adding another subtopic called relaxation tools. These are some things that can help you manage your stress and anxiety, right? Like deep breathing, walking, music, hot shower, meditation, laughing with friends. Yeah, nature. These are just possibilities. But pause for this. Take a look at this. This is your stress plan. It's not just a list, but an actual strategy your brain can see. Because here's the science. When the mind sees a plan, it feels safer. And when your mind feels safe, your body calms down too. Yeah, you're not just reacting. Yeah, you're starting to map and near your way forward. Can you dig it? Yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah, so let's move on to section 3, combating loneliness and improving connections. Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about something that hits home for more people than you probably realize. It's loneliness. Yeah, not just being alone, but feeling unseen, unimportant, and disconnected. You see, human connection is not just a nice to have, it's a must have. Yeah, just like food, water, and for some of us, like Wi-Fi and tacos. But here's the problem, here's the challenge. Most of us were never really taught how to build and maintain connections. Yeah, in life, it gets busy. People move, schedules clash. Yeah, then suddenly you look up and realize that, damn, it's been years since I really had a real life-giving conversation with someone. Yeah, and here's another quick story for you. It was one Saturday afternoon. I'm sitting at home, hungry, bored, and scrolling through my phone, like, yeah, let me call somebody, see if we can do some lunch. It was like 1,472 contacts, and I didn't feel like calling a single one of them. It wasn't just because I didn't love my people. No, it's just somewhere along the way I just stopped connecting. And it turns out that, really, I'm not the only one. According to a recent national survey, over 60% of adults actually report feeling lonely on a regular basis. To me, that's not a stat. That's a signal. I mean, that's a reminder that too many of us are walking through life unseen and under-supported. But here's the good news. Loneliness isn't a life sentence. It's a signal to connect. And a mind map can help you do just that. Yeah, a mind map doesn't just show you who's in your life, it helps you intentionally reconnect, reprioritize, and revive relationships. So here's what I did. Instead of blasting out a group text and scrolling endlessly on social medias, I actually grabbed a blank piece of paper and made a connections mind map. Yeah, right in the center. I just wrote the word connections. Then I started to branch out to family, friends, mentors, co-workers, yeah, even community groups I put on there. Then I added the following questions to each subtopic. Yeah, yeah, who do I feel closest to? Yeah, who gives me energy? Yeah, who do I miss? Yeah, who could I reconnect with on a more meaningful way? Let me tell you, this was a funny thing that happened. One name popped up under missed. It was one of my old college teammates, and yeah, we ain't talked in years. So I just texted him. I was like, "Yo, bro, what's up, man? I miss your corny ass jokes and your terrible playlist. Let's catch up on Able." And this dude hit me up in like less than 60 seconds. He's like, "Man, I was just thinking about you while folding these socks." And I remember I was like, "Damn, who thinks about me folding socks?" But that was connection. That's real, really real. But let me show you what this looks like. This connection mind map looks like. Hold on, let me show you this too. Yeah, it's just like this. In the center of your map, you want to write connections. Then you use the same subtopics I used: family, friends, mentors, co-workers, community groups. And just like I did, you can add these questions. Who do I feel closest to? Who gives me energy? Who do I miss and that I haven't reached out to? Who could I connect with more meaningfully? And when you start adding things to them, you start adding people to this list, what you're going to find is that when you see it laid out like this, it really hits different because you realize that you're not really alone. You're just disconnected, and that could be fixed. But listen, loneliness is often just clarity waiting to happen. And Mapineering gives you the clarity to reach out with purpose. So listen, if your social world feels a little dusty, disconnected, or like that drawer you have full of random ketchup packages and old receipts, this mind map is your reminder. It's time to clean it out. It's time to reconnect with others and with your joy. Yeah, you can map in your meaningful connections with one beautiful branch at a time. Can you dig that? I'm sure you will. Now let's keep going. Overcoming negative thinking patterns. You know what? Yeah, let's talk about that voice that lives rent free in your head. Yeah, you know that one I'm talking about. That little inner critic that sounds like that snarky ass ex that never moved out. Yeah, mine showed up last week. Yeah, I was feeling good. I had a new shirt on and walked past the mirror. I was like, okay, diggable. Yeah, you're looking good. Then that voice whispered, a little tight around the belly, don't you think? There's a thought that feels real, but it's not the whole truth. It's like looking in one of those funhouse mirrors. It looks familiar, but it's twisted. And we do this all the time about negative thinking patterns and things of that nature. And I was telling you about how you present an ideal at work and one person's frowns and how we use distortions, how our brain would be like, damn, everybody's judging me and I blew it. And because when you can see your thoughts on paper, when you can visually map what's going on inside your head, you create some space to actually challenge them. Yeah, instead of spiraling, you start investigating. Yeah, instead of beating yourself up, you start building yourself up. Yeah, and let me show you exactly what I'm showing. And this here, right here, in this negative thinking patterns mind map. Just like you see here. Again, you can use a napkin, a pencil, a paper, whatever. Negative thinking habits. And these are some of the five most common distortions that we use. All or nothing thinking. The common distortions we think about is, and that's that little voice that's always in your head. It's like, if it's not perfect, it's a failure. One bad moment ruins the day. Yeah, either I'm amazing or I'm a loser. Yeah, when you think about catastrophizing, common distortions that we say, this one little small mistake will ruin everything. I'll never recover from this. It's all going downhill. Then we got personalizing. Yeah, it's my fault. They're upset. They didn't laugh. Must have been me. Yeah, I must have done something wrong. All those should statements. Yeah, I should be further along. I shouldn't feel this way. I should always have it together. And finally, filtering out the good. Yeah. Sure, I did well, but I missed one thing. Yeah. Everyone said it was great, but one person didn't. Yeah. That win doesn't count. Now, here's where the real shift happens, right? For each one of these distortions, we can flip the script on them. Yeah, we can add a new branch beside each one of them, filled with the truth, passion, and perspective, right? Let me show you what I mean here. for all or nothing thinking, we can flip those distorted words that we use, failure, ruin, loser, into progress over perfection. One moment doesn't define the day. Now, I'm growing. I'm not perfect. That's okay. Yes, and catastrophizing. Instead of disaster, never, or hopeless, you can say one step at a time. This too shall pass. It's temporary. It's not the end. When it comes to personalizing, it's not my fault. Blame, reject it. Until their mood doesn't define my worth. Ask, don't assume. And it's not always about me. Then for some of these should statements that we can flip, instead of behind, weak, or shame, you can try, I'm right where I need to be. My feelings are valid.
Dứt dịch rồi hả?
Progress over pressure. Yeah, and filtering out the good. Yeah, instead of not enough, overlooked and missed. We can remind ourselves that it's to celebrate your wins. One miss doesn't erase the good. Focus on what went right. Now, listen, these shifts, they might seem small, but when you actually map them out visually like this on paper with color and branches, this becomes your mental mirror reset. Now you can see what's running the show. You can begin taking that mic back, right? When you really shift it, you can be self-compassionate with yourself. And being kind to yourself works way better than beating yourself up, is where I was leaving us off at. And if that inner critic has been running the show, it might be time for you to hand the mic to that kinder, wiser self of yourself. And a mind map is the perfect tool to help it speak louder. Can you dig it? I'm sure you will. Now let's move on to mastering self-regulation. Let me tell you something that I had to learn the hard way. There's a huge difference between reacting and responding. I remember posting something heartfelt online. It was a message about growth and loving life more, and someone replied with, "That's dumb. Sounds like toxic positivity to me." For 30 seconds, boy, I was ready to clap back with a paragraph I tell you that would have made Shakespeare proud. No, but I took a breath, paused, and I typed, "Sounds like you've been through something heavy. I wish you healing." Yo, that person actually DM'd me later and said, "You're right. I'm having a bad week. Thanks for the grace." And that's when it really hit me again, that reaction is instinct, but response is wisdom. It's not about suppressing how you feel. No, it's about owning your power by choosing how you show up. And here's the truth. You can't control what happens to you. Those rude comments, bad traffic, passive aggressive coworkers, family drama popping up at the worst time. I know what that's like. And you can control how you respond, though. And that, my friend, that's real freedom. Now, let me show you a pretty cool mind map that you can map in there. And this one's called emotional triggers. Again, you can start with a blank page. You want to put emotional triggers in the center, and you want to branch out to the moments that tend to normally knock you off balance, like criticism, being ignored, traffic, social media, certain conversations. Then for each, you can create two subtopics, reaction and desired response. For example, for criticism, how do you normally react? You get defensive, you shut down, you got to prove your point. But then you can also add some desired response when you're criticized. Maybe you want to pause, reflect, and respond calmly. For being ignored, some of your reactions may be to overthink it, and always assume the worst. But then you can add some desired responses like, self-soothe, check in, let go. For traffic, you can add some of your possible reactions that you used to, being frustrated, road rage, blame the world. Then you can add some alternative responses, deep breathing, listening to music, and reframe the situation. For social media, you may add reaction words like envious, distracted, triggered, and your desired responses could be to, curate your feed, Log off, just get off of it, yeah, and ground yourself. And for certain conversations, yeah, you may react emotionally, you may erupt, avoid them altogether, but then you can add some desired responses like you want to listen, breathe, maybe set some boundaries. Then you can even take it a step further by adding a new branch called daily wellness routine. These are like your anchors, your emotional armor, if you will. Yeah, like your reset buttons. Yeah, you can think about morning mindfulness, movement, healthy meals, gratitude journaling, and taking intentional breaks. See, look, when you see it all laid out visually like this, it's not just a to-do list. It actually becomes a wellness contract with yourself. And here's the beauty. Mapineering makes it easier to commit because it makes your self-care like personal and visible. I mean, when it's just in your head, it's just like a wish. But when it's on a map, it becomes a plan. Yeah, and let me leave you with this. I once worked with someone that told me that I used to think emotional regulation was like acting like a robot, but now I get it. It's really about being human on purpose. And that's true. Yes, indeed. Being human on purpose. That's the art of emotional self-regulation. And with Mapineering, you don't just feel better, you actually respond better. You live better. Can you dig it? Sure, you will. Now let's move on to our final section, and that's section 6, activating self-actualization. Now let me ask you something deep as we close out here. Who are you? No, seriously, who are you really? I'm not talking about what you do, where you live, what you've been through. No, I'm talking about the version of you that's been waiting to be seen. Because here's the truth. Identity shapes everything. Yeah, how you show up, what you believe you're capable of, how you treat others and yourself. And most people, they never consciously choose their identity. Yeah, we normally inherit it. Yeah, we react to it or survive it, right? But when you get intentional about who you are and who you're becoming, that's when everything changes. Yeah, I'll never forget. I remember working with someone that's been through some crazy drama and trauma that she's been telling herself for years that I'm broken. I'm damaged. I really messed things up. And one day, I just asked her, I said, "Hey, just draw your I am mind map." And she resisted, hesitated. I said, "Come on, just describe who you are at your best." And she looked at it and took a breath and she wrote down, "I am resilient. I am wise. I am whole." And I tell you, that woman left our session with tears in her eyes and fire in her soul. Because when you reclaim your identity, you reclaim your power. Yeah, this final section is all about self-actualization. Now, I know that sounds fancy smancy, but here's what it really means. It means living as your truest, most powerful self. Yes, what Maslow called the highest level of human development. I simply call it loving and living your best life. Yeah, not just dreaming it, but being it. And the tool that makes this all possible is the I am mind map. It's not just another exercise. This is really the crown jewel of all of mapineering. Why? Because it's the most powerful visual blueprint, mind map that you'll ever create for your identity, your vision, and your future. Yeah, it's how you stop drifting and start designing. It's how you begin to shape who you really are on purpose. Now, here's how it works. Let me show you. In the center of your mind map, you want to write I am, the identity. Now, you can draw 4 main branches, subtopics like, and these are actually your I am anchors: health, wealth, success, and happiness. Now, you can add a few keywords to each of these subtopics that actually describe who you are at your absolute best. Yeah, like for health, you can put strong, energized, focus, just as some examples. For like wealth, you can put free, knowledgeable, abundant. Success, you may put things like impactful, respectful, respected, and courageous. Happiness, you may put present, grateful, joyful. But then you can start map out action words that can actually help you achieve all of these things. Like for strong, you can put workout, weights, body weights. For free, you can put save, budget, automate. Yeah, impactful, you can put teach, serve. Yeah, for joyful, you can put play, laugh, dance, being in nature, whatever it is for you. For each anchor, you'll start to build out words, habits, and actions that actually reflect your highest self in those areas. Because when you can see when you're becoming, you start showing up as that person. Yeah, this is how you actually activate self-actualization by mapping it, not just dreaming it, but designing it. And when you start to review this every day, man, you're not just managing life, you're mapping in a life that you truly love. Now, let me leave you with this final story. One of my coaching clients came back to me about 30 days after mapping his I am mind map. He said, John, I started making decisions based on my I am. I changed my mornings, my energy, my goals. And for the first time in years, I feel like I'm finally me. Now that's self-actualization. That's the I am power. So here's my invitation to you. If you're ready to stop reacting to life and start designing your life, if you're ready to start creating a new way of thinking, living, and being, it's time to map into your I am mind map. Because the most powerful thing you'll ever say is I am. And what comes after? That's your legacy. That's your future. Yeah, that's your truth. Can you dig it? Sure, you will. Now, I hope you can now see how powerful Mapineering can be. And now it's time to start experiencing it yourself. But let's pause for a second and recap a little bit on what you just learned. Now, you just learned about how Mind Map can help you manage your emotions, reduce stress and anxiety, improve mental clarity. You saw it can help you reconnect with others and flip negative thoughts, regulate emotional triggers, and most powerfully, you learn how to design your identity through your I am mind map. Now, you didn't just learn about mental wellness. Yeah, you were actually invited to see it differently, to make it visual, to actually make it yours. That's what mapping is truly all about. It's taking what's inside and mapping it out. Yeah, so you can move forward with clarity, purpose, and power. So here's my challenge to you. Please, before the week is over, take 20 minutes and do an I am mind map. Start with these four I am makers: health, wealth, success, and happiness. Yeah, choose a few words that actually reflect who you really are or who you're ready to become, even. Now, if you want help with getting started with any of this, you can go to johndiggs.com, take the free I am assessment. You're going to get some support, inspiration, and tools to actually go deeper with this. Yeah, and you'll also be joining a growing movement of people that are really done surviving and really trying to design their lives on purpose. So, with that, folks, I really thank you for your time, your energy today, and I really appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Please keep mapineering, keep healing, and please keep loving your life more. Can you dig it? I knew that you could. Peace.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Um, if
I would
you,
love some questions if anybody.
yeah, if anyone has questions, please drop them in the chat or
Um,
unmute yourself and ask
yeah,
John.
let's talk.
Yes.
I hope you guys really found some of this useful and valuable.
John, don't you do some things on Facebook Live every Thursday?
Tuesdays and
I,
Thursdays, I host a live session where it's about only 10, 15 minutes of where I'm trying to really share some various ways that people can use mind maps. And that's really the power of mind mapping, is that it really can be used for anything someone has to think about. Anything that's going on in your mind, whether it's a problem, whether it's a decision, where you're planning a trip, trying to deal with stuff in your past, trying to plan for whatever you got going on in your mind, you can mind map. by just starting with that central topic in the middle and just start adding things that just come to your mind out. And so on every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook, I go in and just show various ways on how people can use a mind map for various things. Mind mapping is relatively still unknown, and those who have heard of it, it's always that abstract, yeah, I remember hearing about it years ago, but I've never done nothing with it. So my passion and my mission is really just to do everything I can to let people know that this is a powerful tool that doesn't cost any money. Again, you can grab a crayon and a napkin and do everything I just showed you. It's just really the process of going through it that I really believe um, can powerfully impact so many people, so many people. And my divine mission is to do everything I can to help folks out.
Would you mind
John,
dropping your
this is
website in the chat as well as your Facebook handle so people can check that out?
John, this is Mary Slingerland. I was going to ask the same thing. When we go into johndiggs.com, how do we get into the test area so we can
Yeah,
do
you
a
want to
little?
select that professionals link, that start here professionals link, and that'll take you right to the IM assessment. You see the IM
It,
logo on it?
No, I'm not looking at that right now.
Yeah, once you go there, you click on where it says professional and you see the IM logo, hit start here, and it'll take you right to that IM assessment. Now, IM assessment is primarily designed just to get you to start really thinking about some of these things. And Major, I've been finding that, I've been working with people that, like in college, develop their own IM mind map so they can start getting clear on who they are and what they want, what they're intending to do in their life, and help them get build boundaries and live more of a purposeful college experience. And I also work with people that are later in age to where they may have gone through a divorce, they may have lost a significant other, they may be retiring or empty nester, and they're really just trying to get really clear on who they are and what's next or new in their life. And that's what this I am mind map is really designed to help people clarify who am I really at my core, and what do I need to do to live more in that I am decision that I'm making versus just kind of bouncing and running through life. If that helps.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, Kristen, is there free mind mapping software? Yeah, there's a bunch of mind mapping softwares out there nowadays. When I first started mind mapping, there was only one software, but now there's a bunch of there's a bunch of mind mapping platforms. I use probably what is regarded as the best in the country now. It's called MindMeister. That's what you've been seeing me use here in these mind maps. I really like this platform because you can add attachments to it. I can add YouTube videos. I can put PDFs in here. So oftentimes when I'm mind mapping a subject that I'm trying to learn or would like to do, I would brainstorm it, meaning that, say like for instance, I was mind mapping herbal supplements. I put herbal supplements in here, then I would just start putting down all of the herbal supplements that I wanted to research. But then as I started Googling articles and things of that nature, I would not spend time reading that article right now. It looks like an interesting article, but I don't want to stifle my creativity in my brainstorming session. So I'll just take that link and I'll just place it right directly inside of the mind map for me to reference later. So I would take a link like this and I could just come right in and just add the link for me to just look at it later. So anytime when I want to come back to look at it, I can just come back here. I put PDFs in here, documents. And again, when I first started, back in my story, and I did a TEDx talk on this, by the way, a couple years ago that really talked about how mind mapping came into my life. And for those who have interest in knowing how it actually impacted my life back in 2010, and I used actually mind mapping to go from rags to riches. I mean, literally broke, homeless, and the like to making a good six-figure income in less than 8 months. And I'm absolutely positive and certain that it was just because of the clarity that mind mapping gave me on who I was, what I needed to do with my life to rebuild my life. And I used it as an action plan, a GPS, if you will, on things I needed to do every day to transform my life. And I've been doing it ever since. And essentially, when COVID hit and we were quarantined, that's when I said, you know what, it's time for me, 10 years later, and mind mapping enabled me to travel the world and dance and live this incredible life, that it was time for me to start sharing, this powerful tool with the world. And since then, I wrote 10 books, become an international best-selling author on the subject, and it's just my passion to really let people know, especially in the mental health world. I as I've been learning more about the mental health world, um, I haven't heard too much use of a powerful tool like this, and how it can really help people sort out their mental stress that they may be going through, or pressure and anxiety. And if anyone has any questions or would like to learn more about this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is my life mission. Despite playing professional football and owning million-dollar businesses, all of that was fine, but nothing has resonated with my soul like just really doing my best to help people love and live their best life with this tool. So, very passionate about it. So, please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions or if I can help you in any other way. And Kristen, you're awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate you so much, more than you realize. Thank you again.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Check out MHAM events. It's MHA-MI.com events. We also have very affordable memberships. Without your memberships and donations, MHAM just doesn't exist. So we're so grateful that you're here today. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see you at the next event. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.